Okie dokie. So we are recording and we have an incredible guest today. I mean, I always get really excited, and anyone who's watching the video will obviously see who we have today. But for those of you who are not watching and are listening, he had his first big break acting next to the icon Eddie Murphy in I Spy in 2002. He's also been in Hot Tub Time Machine. He's been in Are We There Yet? Arrow, Continuum. He also played Grips on Dirk Gently's Holistic Detective Agency. Also Netflix's Lost in Space, Loudermilk, and most recently he is Joseph Canfield on When Calls the Heart. And he gets to actually act with two of his children on screen as well, which is lovely, both Vienna and Elias. So welcome, Viv Leacock. Oh, sorry, Leacock. It's
I'll
Leacock,
take
isn't it?
either one. It's Leacock,
Okay,
yeah.
cool. Okay, cool. I always get thrown off by the A. I'm like, I want to say anyway.
I
Hey.
know. How are you doing?
Welcome.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Oh,
That's
it's
a great
lovely to
intro.
have you.
Wow. Wow, that
Oh,
was a great
thanks.
intro. I was like, who is this guy? This guy sounds great.
Well, it's pretty cool when you look at your IMDb and you just keep going. You're like, wow, there's a lot there.
Yeah, it's nice. It's nice to be able to say there was a certain point, I'd run into people and they go, "Oh, you look familiar. What have I seen you in?" And it's always a strange question that people ask actors, but it's like I can't tell you what you've seen me in. You should know, anyways. But you know, but I used to just say all types of stuff. I'm like, "Oh, I was in Star Wars." I'd just say everything, and they, "Oh my god," I'd say whatever, but. It's nice to have a resume that doesn't include like three things on it like it used to at one point. So,
100%.
you know,
100%. Yeah, absolutely. How did it? Because obviously, you're still based in Yeah, you are still based in Vancouver,
still in
right?
Vancouver, yeah.
Okay, cool. So,
Wait a second. Before we even start, Viv, did
Mm.
you get woken up by that crazy storm last night at all?
Yeah, yeah, that was. I
That
actually
was
went
insane.
outside to
Yeah.
see what was going on, and the loudest thunderclap I have ever heard in my life hit when I went outside. I was like, "Oh, I'm going back inside." I was like, "Nope,
Yeah. It was
wow,
intense. It was lighting up my bedroom like every
yeah."
30 seconds. It was
Yeah,
oh
it was
crazy.
my
crazy,
gosh.
and I'm not even joking. That was the loudest thunder I have ever heard, ever. It shook
Ah!
the house. It was crazy.
Sorry, had to ask.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Well, it's totally relevant. I'm glad I'm a terrible sleeper, so that would have just been
I would have
horrendous for me.
destroyed your sleep even more.
Yes, exactly, even more than usual. I mean, I probably would need like a blindfold and earplugs. It would just be horrendous.
Yeah.
It'd be so bad.
Yeah, you would
Um,
have. This was crazy.
yeah, no, that's not good. It's weird actually, because even in the UK we had, I was actually out walking yesterday, and there was like crazy thunder and lightning as well, and I was like, so maybe it just kind of came over to you
It
guys
came
then as
over.
well.
I think yes.
Yeah.
That's a big
Sure.
storm.
Yeah, so Viv, like, how did it all start for you? Because I think, didn't you start in stand up and then move over to acting, or how did it come? How
Yeah,
did it come for you?
acting came first.
Ah,
My first love was stand up. That was what I wanted to be. That was what I wanted to do. My older brother Richard, who had a birthday yesterday. Happy birthday!
happy
Um,
birthday, Richard.
he's been an actor since 1987. He started on 21 Jump Street.
Oh,
I
Um,
did
wow.
actually. I was gonna ask actually about your brother, because I was like,
yes,
whoa, he was in the
yeah,
original Jump Street, like 21 Jump
yeah.
Street. Anyway, yes, yeah, cool.
So there's a connect. Interestingly enough, there's a roundabout connection to Peter DeLuise, who is heavily involved with When Calls the Heart. So there's this round. I've actually known Peter since I was 13 years old,
Oh,
um,
nice.
Wow.
because of my brother. So my brother had recognized that I could act, should act, when I was really young, and he kept pushing me to do it. And he actually took me to my first audition when I was 8. Um,
Wow.
and he was the person who was instrumental in I think putting that in my head. And I just didn't want to do it. I was like, no, 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 I'm not interested in that. I want to be a stand-up comedian. And it wasn't until I was 17 years old. I used to sing in high school, like at parties and dances and stuff, and there was a like a talent showcase, and I was singing a song, and one of the judges in the audience was a local agent, an agent in town, and he approached me after the show and was like, "I'd like to represent you. I think you have, great stage presence and charisma. I'd like to represent you as an actor." And I was like, "This thing just keeps coming back around." I'm like, "Okay, fine, I'll do it." And so I auditioned for my first show at 17, and I got the part. I got a recurring part in a TV show right off the bat,
Wow.
and
Oh my
yeah,
goodness.
yeah. So it was kind of like, I had just read something about beginner's luck, and read that it's kind of like the universe's way of telling you should do something. If you try for it and it works right off the bat, you should go for it. So I was like, all right, I'll do it. So I worked on that show for 6 months, 7 months, something like that, and
Nice.
continued auditioning after that for about a year. But actually walked away from acting because when I was 17 years old, this was back in 1991, the political landscape at the time was pretty
Very
ridiculous.
different.
And is
Yeah.
very, it was actually,
That's
interestingly
a
enough,
nice way
not
of
so
putting it.
different. Yeah, not
Oh,
so
right.
different than it
Oh,
is
right. Yeah.
now.
Hmm.
And so a lot of the parts that I was auditioning for were stereotypically horrible. They were mugger, pimp, rapist,
Oh,
this, like,
oh,
everything that you would never want to ever
Yeah.
portray. And
no.
so
Yeah.
I was like, I don't want, like, gangbanger, punk, like every role that I went in for, there was nobody that was a redeeming character. So I was like, I'm not gonna add to the stereotypes. So I
Of
actually walked
course.
away. I walked away because I was just like, the world is not ready for me to go into these situations and be an angry actor on set, because it's like anybody who has a job that they don't like. It's like, you knew what the job was before you got here. So if you didn't want to do it, you shouldn't have done it. And
Yeah.
so yeah, I actually walked away. I walked away for 7 years. I didn't.
Oh
I was
wow.
like, it's not.
Wow.
I'm not. I would see stuff from time to time come up, and I would just be like, no, I don't. I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. In
Yeah.
hindsight, there were two things going on. One was exactly what I just said: political
Hmm.
landscape and the stereotypical roles, and just like literally, like, I'd be putting anyone who looked like me back 400 years. And
Hmm.
there was also the huge factor, and I didn't know this at the time, that I didn't really know what I was doing as an actor.
Oh, right.
My process as an actor was really just kind of like, I did everything on my own. I went over the lines on my own. I decided everything on my own. I never ran anything with anybody, and I just went in and did what I wanted to do on this side of the camera, regardless of what anybody else was doing on the other side. And it was a lot of mugging and a lot of big things and big reactions because I was a comedian. I was a guy who's always trying to go for the laugh, and
Hmm.
it was terrible. And so I'm sure I walked away to, like, save face, or to, like, I'm sure there was a part of me that realized that you're not very good at this, or there's some, like, or they're gonna figure out you're not very good at this. That's what I should say, because
Yeah.
they actually didn't. So walked away and did all manner of everything that you could I worked with kids, I moved office furniture, I worked in warehouses, I did a whole bunch of stuff. I was a regular guy, and I finally did my stand-up comedy. I went and pursued
Oh
stand-up
nice.
comedy. Yes, yes. And uh it was a very interesting thing to find out that I love making people laugh, but I don't particularly like the lifestyle of a stand-up comedian.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's something that you and I'm actually a very different character than a lot of stand-up comedians. A lot of stand-up comedians are actually very down on themselves. They're very dark personalities, and they make people
Right.
laugh, but they're not laughing.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I was like, I had a pretty good life. Everything was great. And I would be around some these cats and just be like, oh my gosh, you guys are. Yeah, I just like, I can't hang out with these guys. It's a little too
Yeah.
crazy. And so, yeah, and by this point, just as I was starting to kind of get into that, acting came around again. It came calling again. My
Mm-hmm.
brother convinced me to do a workshop with a really cool actor named Jeff Seymour. Um, and I was reluctant to do any type of training, any type of anything. And
Of course.
I just I didn't want to. I didn't want anybody in my head. I didn't want anybody telling me anything. And
Yeah.
he just said something and it clicked. I don't even it's the simplest story, and I have no idea why this resonated with me so much. But we did this workshop, and I didn't like what I did all weekend. I didn't like what I was doing. Um, it just felt fake. It felt forced. It was good in the sense that I was watching other people perform, my brother included, and I could see everything that Jeff would tell them. So all the notes he was giving them, I saw it too. I saw everything he was saying, and so I recognized that ability that I could sense. I could direct perhaps, and I wasn't happy with what I did. And we're leaving the workshop, and I was kind of down, and I said to Jeff, or he said, how are you doing? You know, how'd you like it? And I said, same thing. I saw what you saw in a lot of senses, and I was really happy that someone else thinks the way I do, because I felt very alone, like in
Mm-hmm.
how I see the script and how I break it down and what I see is happening. 'Cause I didn't discuss any of these things. And then he said, I said, what do I need to do? What do I need to change? And he said, what are you talking about, man? You got it all. You don't need to do anything. And I don't know what. Maybe it was my giant ego. I'm not sure, but he said that, and it just something
Yeah.
just snapped. I had kind of come full circle, because when I first started acting as a kid, it was really easy. I was on
Yeah.
stage singing, and someone approached me after and said, "You should act," and I was like, "Yeah, okay, yes, I should." And I didn't have anything wrapped up on it. I didn't have any political things attached to anything. I didn't inject anything when I went for that first audition. I just went and did it because I knew I could. And
Mm-hmm.
he's kind of got me to get out of my own way, and I literally have never stopped. It just the next week I booked something, and it's never ever stopped. It's weird. It just I don't know. He said that was the thing, and that was it for me. I just needed to hear that I was enough. I think that's what I needed to hear.
Wow.
Sometimes it's
Yeah,
that simple.
it really was that simple. And it's like, I've coached a lot of actors over the years, and a lot of times the advice that I give them, a lot of people might think it's counterintuitive, but they'll say, "What do I need to do? What do I need to, what should I be working on?" And I'll say the same thing that Jeff said to me. "What are you talking about? You got it all. You already have it. You just have to go live." Like I'll tell people a lot of
Mm-hmm.
times, like, go live your life. It's like you're waiting to live your life when you
Yes.
get that part. You're waiting to live your life once you're in Hollywood. You got to live now, because what we do as actors is we're supposed to be able to take a slice of life and put it up. That's what we're supposed to be
Of
able to do. So
course.
how can you do that if you don't have life experience? You can't do that. So go
Of
live your
course.
life. And it's come around in so many ways, that one sentence that my friend said to me has come back and so many times over. Yeah,
Mm.
just knowing that
Yeah.
you're enough, I
This.
guess that helps a lot.
I
I
love
think
that.
actors have a
Yeah,
tendency, yeah, I do too. I think actors have a tendency to make it more difficult, than it actually needs to be,
totally,
you know?
totally. That
And I've
that
only just learned
actually
that
was
now.
same thing. Yeah, I mean, it takes people a long time, and I think that's what I was. That was the process for me. I started, and I didn't think it was difficult. And then it got to a point where I was really emotionally, like, I was bothered by a lot of the material, and so I was starting to dig into stuff a little bit more, and I was making it definitely was not fun. It wasn't fun. It was
Mm.
Everything was a chore, everything was work, and I had lost sight of the process. And as soon as I got back to just being like, oh, I just got to inject myself. Oh, well, yeah, here we go. And because I know who I am, I've known, that's not ever been a problem for me. I know exactly who I am. Uh, uh, Probably since I was a kid. And realizing that you want to be an entertainer when you're like 8 years old, you tend to kind of know exactly who you are pretty quickly. Like, I knew I was sitting in grade school and I was like, well, I don't really need this. Like I knew that. I did. I knew it. I was like, I'm not going to do anything with this. Not to say that I liked academia and whatnot, but
Yeah. Oh, of course.
I knew that I wasn't the guy going off to university. I knew it. And to watch all my friends go and do that, I was like, good for you. I'm not going to be there with
Not
you.
me, but yeah.
Yeah, you. Yeah. The same thing happens with, and I'm sorry, this is the longest answer ever, but the same thing happens with actors. You can talk forever. The same thing happens when
Love it.
throughout the years, people have come to me with different things to make money. Like I have a friend who is an amazing actor, and he has been for quite some time. And through the years, he always was trying to do something else on the side. Always like, oh, I got this startup thing I'm trying to do. I've got this. Uh, on Google you can start a business and I can make $50,000 a week. Like it was always something that was taking his energy away. And I told him, I said, you know what you're doing with this? You're subconsciously telling yourself that you're not going to make it as an actor. That's all you're doing. I'm not saying don't pay the bills. I'm saying that if you keep trying to come up with these, get rich quick businesses, it's just your doubt getting in the way of this dude is so talented. And he finally, I've known him for 20, almost 20 years. He's finally all in. Finally. He finally was like, oh my God. I'm like, yeah, let that go. Let it all go, man. Just do what we do and he's already had success. It's an interesting thing. He's already had success, but what you tell yourself, that's what's going to happen. It's what you tell yourself. I don't have anything. I do this. This is what I have been doing for, I mean, we'll talk about I Spy. I Spy really was the break. So that's 20 years ago now when we filmed that. And
I know, so that's mad.
Yeah, it's kind of.
That's mad.
Kind of
like
wild.
That film only feels like it was like 5 years ago, but I know it wasn't. I know it definitely wasn't. Like, because I loved that film when that came out, and when I met you, I was like, oh no,
I know,
seriously.
I remember.
Honestly, actually, out of curiosity, because I've have never been graced to be that close to Eddie Murphy, but before that point, what was the audition process for a big movie like that?
For I
I'm
Spy.
curious.
Interesting. It actually came up yesterday talking to another fellow actor, and we were kind of commiserating about a movie that we auditioned for, where the star of the movie is actually not someone who's ever really opened a film, and so what they have to do, and what they will do most times, is they'll pad that film with a bunch of big names. Just because the guy who's in the lead position, he's not known to open films. That's not what he's known for. So they have to. So when you're auditioning for this movie, for the guy who's like his best friend, you're never going to get it. You're never going to get it because they need people around him who have a bigger name than him even to sell this movie. And so, you go in, you're going, I'm wasting my time. But everybody from the casting director to everybody involved, no, it's going to be totally free. It's going to be totally fair. No, it's not. It's not. So now think about what I was thinking about when it came to I Spy. This is an Eddie Murphy movie. There's absolutely no way in this world that I'm going to be standing beside the guy as a supporting lead. There's no way. Not with my resume in 2001. There's no way. But again, I've been wanting to work with this guy since I was 8 years old. This is my idol. I literally have an opportunity to be anything in this film. And I was like, I don't care what I am. Cop number 58, I don't care. As long as I get to work with this guy. And I remember saying to my brother, I said, if they judge this fairly, not about your rank in Hollywood, not about, whatever. Just if they judge it solely on who did the best performance, I said, I'll get it. No one will get this over me. I will get this because I know Eddie Murphy. Let's put it this way. Eddie Murphy studied Richard Pryor. I studied Eddie Murphy. I mean, his walk,
amazing.
his talk, his rhythm, his cadence, everything. I know everything about the guy. And so I was prepared, to say the least. I'll tell you an interesting story, if that's okay.
Yeah.
So here we get the breakdown for I Spy. And like I said, it's a supporting lead character. I see on the breakdown, and the breakdown is a list of all the characters and a quick kind of character description of the characters, just so you know how you line up versus the other characters on the film or the TV show. And I see on the breakdown that my character, TJ, is Kelly Robinson's, who's Eddie Murphy plays, his assistant. And I was like, okay, he's the middleweight boxing champion of the world. He's a guy that kind of came from the streets. His assistant is not an executive assistant. His assistant is someone that's a friend of his that just happens to do stuff for him, that he pays well to do that, but who was not some guy who went to, to a business school to become an assistant. No, this is just some guy. And so the first decision I made was wardrobe. And I decided I'm just going to look like a brother from the streets. I'm going to look like a brother who, but a brother from the streets, but now who has a lot of money, because you get paid very well as a personal assistant of any, major athlete. You get paid a lot of money. Anyways, so I went into the audition looking like a rapper. Leather pants, sneakers, beanie, sunglasses. I looked like, cool cat. Everybody in the waiting room was looking at me like I was crazy because they were all wearing suits.
I imagine they were all like, yes!
They were all wearing suits and ties, and they're looking at me like, what are you auditioning for? And I said, same thing you're auditioning for. And a couple guys laughed at me, and I was like, okay, you're going to see what's up as soon as we go on that.
Yeah.
Now, I didn't know at the time that the actual director, her name is Betty Thomas. I didn't know Betty Thomas was actually in the room, because the notes on my audition said it was going to be an in-person audition only with the casting directors, not with the director. There was a mistake that my agency had they didn't catch. So I was very relaxed. I'm out in the waiting room like, oh, what's going on, fellas? I'm having a great time because I knew the casting directors very well. And it's not like you can just go in there and mess it up, but you have a lot more leeway when you're just putting it on film with the casting director than if the director or producer's there, because now they're going to decide right away if you're good or bad. Anyways, so I'm relaxed, which is number one. Number two, I've gone over the script probably 1,000 times, and I've added tons of ad libs, which I do all the time. I'm not saying that people should. If you're listening, actors, I'm not telling you to ad lib. I'm saying that's what I do because I'm a comedic guy. So I started going through and finding ways and areas that I could inject some other stuff. So I got those all ready. And I'm the last guy to go in. And casting director comes out, and she looks very nervous. And I'm just kind of like, and everybody who had come out of the room, they looked kind of shell-shocked. They didn't really say bye or anything. They just kind of left. And I was like, what is happening in that room? Casting director comes out. She's like, are you ready? And I was like, yeah, are you ready? kind of thing. And then I hear this voice come from the other room. I can't see into the room. I hear this voice, and it called, "Get back in here." She's talking to the director's talking to the casting director.
Oh my.
She goes back in the room. She closes the door for 5 minutes. And I was like, what is happening? Now, this is the first time I actually realized someone's in the room with the casting director. And I was like, oh. Now there's no time to get nervous. Not enough time.
Nice.
She comes back out, pale. She's pale, even more pale than she was. And she's like, are you ready? And I was like, yeah. Everything okay? She's like, yeah. We go in the room. Here's Betty Thomas, the director. And the first thing she does is she looks at me and she looks at the green leather baggy pants I had on. She's like, whoa, nice pants. And I was like, oh, thank you very much. All right. And she's like looking at me like, what? Because everybody else, literally suit and tie. And she's like, oh, okay. And I knew that was good. And she's like, "Oh, all right, you have any questions?" And I'm like, "No, I'm ready to go." And they had a reader in the room, which is another actor who reads the scenes with you. Now, like I told you, I ad-lib a lot. And so we do the scene, and we start to do the scene, and I start to ad-lib. Da-da-da-da. But I always come back and give you your lead-in line. I'm going to say what you need to hear so you could give me your line. Ad-lib, come back, bang, hit him with the line. My man is looking at me like a deer in headlights. He's just like,
no.
and I'm like, and I didn't break. And he was supposed to say, "Here, let me try." That was his line. I'm supposed to give him a phone. He's supposed to say, "Here, let me try." I don't know if you recall, but there's a scene in the movie where Owen Wilson makes hotel reservations for our characters in Hungarian, and he basically sets us up to be in the basement of the hotel. Okay, so that's the scene, right? And he's supposed to take the phone, speak in Hungarian, and give me back the phone. Okay? So he's looking at me, and I'm looking at him. And I'm waiting for him to say, "Here, let me try." So now I say, "Don't you want to try?" And I like hand him a prop phone, and he's like, oh yeah, and he starts to now read the lines, right? Now, it felt like it was a minute between me giving him the lead-in line and him saying his line, stumbling through it. And I want to murder this. I want to kill this man because I'm like, you're destroying my opportunity to work with Eddie Murphy. I'm never going to get a chance to work with him. So much so, we finished that scene. No other hiccups in that scene. So much so that the casting director kicked him out of the room. She's like, "Go. I'm going to read with Viv. Leave the room."
Wow.
Now, there's a reason why. There's a reason why she did this. I've never seen this ever. I actually, on that project and forward, became a reader for auditions. And I've never seen anyone kick me out of the room. That's never happened. So she kicks him out of the room. And then we do scenes 2, 3, and 4. And I read with the casting director. And she's great. She knows me and she knows how I do things. And so she's waiting for the ad-libs and I do my thing. And we finish. And I had added physical comedy and all this stuff. And I'm like huffing and puffing at the end because I like flipped myself over or something. And Betty Thomas is like, bravo, wow. And then she was like poker face. She's like, that was okay. Wow, really good. And then she calms herself down, and she's very cool. And I couldn't read her because all I was thinking about was the first scene with the 30-second gap with what felt like 5 minutes. It felt, I was like, I lost it. I felt that I had already lost the part. It's gone. There's no way I'm getting it back because this guy destroyed my chances. I'm being really cool and I'm saying nice things like, hope you have a good time filming and this and that and all that. And I leave. Now, there's a story I was told after I filmed the whole movie, which was the casting director told me what happened when she got called back in the room. This is what happened. Betty Thomas said to her, "You told me there were funny actors in this town. if the next guy isn't funny, you're fired. That's what she
Oh,
was told.
shit.
Yeah, that's what she was
That's
told
intense.
before I came in the room. Needless to say, she's one of my dear friends to this day. Like
I
she's
was
like,
gonna
I owe
say.
you. Oh yeah, that's
Wow.
my girl. That's my girl. That's my girl. Because
Wow.
I saved her that day, but she in
Yeah.
turn saved me because she kicked that dude out the room.
Yeah.
And we helped each other. But that's what happened. It was because again, there's a perfect storm. Betty Thomas didn't believe that she was going to be able to find me in Canada.
Mm.
And that was actually her words. Her words were, I won't be able to find this guy in Canada. Because there are no funny black people in Canada. Those were her words.
God.
And
How wrong she was.
she had to be dragged to the session. Two, I broke it down properly and understood that this guy wasn't an executive assistant. He was a guy from the streets who this dude
Mm.
knew and hired him to be his personal gopher, basically. That's what he was. That's his function.
Mhm.
And then, yeah, three, I had a great relationship with the casting director, and I was in a room where I felt safe enough to do what I do. I mean, I do it anyway. Any room that I've ever gone to, I ad lib. I do what I do because invariably you get famous or you get popular or you rise up the ranks because you do what you do, not because you do what anybody
Exactly.
else wants you to do. So
Yeah.
I just threw it at it, and it worked. I found out
Wow.
like a week later that I got the part, and actually my brother also landed a part in the movie as the manager, but couldn't do it because 9/11 happened and it totally shook up the schedule, and he was on a TV show and
Right.
the schedules conflicted and it was crazy. Yeah. But that's my
Oh
I Spy
man.
story. Sorry it took so long.
My
That's a
God. No,
No, it
very
was
that's
long
great. I'm
story.
glad.
that's that's a fantastic story. That's great. And again, like the amount of times we've talked, because Snezina is obviously the agent part of this podcast, and it's so good just to hear that, like, just read the brief, just the very basic of just reading the brief and understanding what you're actually auditioning for, because
It's
so many
all
people just
in
think,
there.
yeah,
I coach people and I tell them, read every character on the breakdown. Read every word on the breakdown. Know who the producers are. Know who the director is. Know who the executive producers are. There's probably some. If you know the tone of the show, if you can figure out the actual genesis of the idea of the show, then you know how to go in for the show. And that's what I
yeah,
understood. I understood what was supposed to happen, what they wanted to see. Now, it helped that Eddie Murphy said, I want to see some new faces on this movie. He had actually said, I want to see a fresh face. So that eliminated all of the
nice.
Hollywood competition right there. That was,
Hmm.
again, perfect storm. It helped that the director, Betty, was also the producer. So now there's
Hmm.
less people to go through to get approval because she's the person who's financing this movie as well.
Yeah, of
It
course.
helped that she had the view of talent in this country that she did because she didn't see me coming. She didn't expect for me to show up. So it actually helped me. People think that
Hmm.
you're not going to be as good as you are, they get blown away. Rather, if she thought I was
Yeah,
supposed to be funny, then maybe she wouldn't be laughing so hard. So it was a
Right. Good
literally
point.
perfect storm of things. And yeah, I just do my thing. That's what I tell anybody I coach. I'm like, you have to do what you do. You have to be who you are. That's what everybody wants to see. They want to see your personality. They want to see
hmm,
what you bring to the table. They don't want to see, you trying to be somebody else. That doesn't work at all.
of course.
So,
Definitely.
yeah.
Absolutely. Oh, Viv, you're literally an incredible person to have on. This is just
Yeah, I know.
solid. Anyway, yeah, I'm like, this is amazing. I knew you'd be awesome.
Oh, thank
Um,
you. So sweet.
no, you are. I'm aware, obviously, for time, but I was wondering because
Oh, we got some more time. Let's talk some
we
more.
got a little
It's
bit of
all good.
time.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. If you're open to it, yeah, if you're open to
Mm-hmm.
it, cool.
Did you want
Brilliant.
to do the
And so,
questions, Jen?
yeah, sure. Well, we've
Okay.
got like just a couple of random questions, but I'm so interested on your insight. So I just love your stories, Viv. You're such a great storyteller. I'm just like, I
I
can't wait to
know.
rewatch
So
this interview.
enthralled. Yeah, I know.
Thank you. love telling
Right,
stories.
fangirl moment over. Yeah, it's good. So, did you want to go first, Nagina, or do you want me to?
No, you do yours first.
Okay. All right. So, first question is,
Mhm.
if say you have your own late night TV show, who would be
Mhm.
your first guest and why?
Well, Eddie Murphy, of course.
I knew it.
If he would be so kind as to grace, our TV show that I'm doing, that he's that because um I'm literally, there's a photo that I have on Instagram. It's the first photo that I put on Instagram, and it's from the movie I Spy, and it's my brother on one side and Eddie Murphy on the other, and
Oh, wow.
those two guys helped shape me more than anybody in the whole industry. Those two, because
Wow.
my older brother, he recognized something in me before anybody else did, and he nurtured it and pushed it and supported it. And Eddie Murphy, I mean, who doesn't look up to the guy? But like,
Well, I mean, who doesn't exactly?
but it's just such a powerful. It was such a powerful moment and powerful, point. And it was. I would want to say to him that he actually personally picked my tape. He's the one who approved me. So he knew who I was before I met him, because he
Hmm.
he said, yeah, let's get that guy on. So the first thing he said to me when he met me was, brother, you're real funny. You're really funny. And like,
Oh,
that coming from him, that was like put it this way, nobody could ever tell me I'm not funny. From that point on, impossible. It doesn't matter who tells you, oh,
Golden
that's not very
seal.
funny. Golden
yeah.
seal of approval. Anybody tries to tell me you're not funny, I'm like, Eddie Murphy told me I'm funny. So
Wow.
um,
Basically bulletproof at that point.
it's a
Yeah.
bulletproof belief that I have about myself,
Yeah.
uh, and that I didn't know at the time, because I thought that movie was gonna kind of catapult me, and it
Hmm.
didn't really work that way. The movie wasn't a very big box office, success and whatnot, and it got a little popular on home video, but I didn't really get a lot of the heat off of it that I thought I was. But what I did get from doing that film and having that experience working with Eddie Murphy for 4 months closely, and we got along very, very well. Like, he did off camera lines for me. And the director was like, Eddie, go. She called him Eduardo. Eduardo, go back to your trailer. We can have your stand-in do his off camera lines. And he was like, no, 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 no. I'll stick around for Viv. And
Oh.
she was like, now I had been told already, um, that he would never do off camera lines for anybody. And apparently that's something that he doesn't do very often.
Oh,
But
wow.
we just clicked. It was just
Oh.
really cool. I mean, I still have a connection to him to this day, which is crazy. But
Hmm.
but
Wow.
he if I had a phone back in the day that had a camera on it, I would be able to show you a photo of Eddie Murphy sitting on an Apple box between two giant cameras, feeding me my off-camera lines.
No,
Like, I was just,
amazing.
what the hell? What am I seeing right now? But
That's
that's
insane.
he was so gracious with me, and he was so cool with me, and he really, the thing that he loves is, he loves stand-ups. And that was the thing
Hmm.
that I think really kind of won him over, is the fact that I had done stand-up. And he could see my process. And this is another thing, I should say this, I almost forgot this, when we first started acting, for the first scene we were doing, he was throwing out ad libs to me, and I ad lib right back. And then Betty was like, just say the lines. Just She kind of yelled from the monitor, don't, that's him, not you. And I was like, oh, wind got taken out of my sails. And Eddie didn't hear her say that.
Right.
So now we go forward, and he's throwing out little stuff for me to get. He's throwing it out, and I'm just deflecting everything, because she
Oh.
told me to just say the lines back to
Oh.
him. and it's killing me, killing me. I'm dying inside. And it goes on for half the day. And finally, I was like, I don't even care if I get fired. I cannot sit here and have this man throwing out gold, and I'm just not taking it. So finally,
Yeah.
we do this scene, and we're in a club, and the scene is, if you watch the movie back, there's a point where he's getting another tattoo on his arm, and he gets a phone call from the president and all this other stuff. And we're sitting there and we're talking. We're talking. And in one of the scenes, Eddie says, TJ, you remember that party we went to? And I was like, yeah, I remember that party. And I just was like, I don't care if I get fired. And I threw back an ad lib. And he threw one back. And I threw one back. And he threw. We went on for a minute and a half. Him and me, back and forth, until I made him laugh. I broke him. I made him crack up. And it was like, it's like, that's right. And she said to me after, she's like, you earn the right to say whatever you want in this film. And
Woo,
everybody after that was like, you're so funny, you're so this, because they had just heard me say the scripted lines, so I don't necessarily have to be funny. If the line's not that funny, then whatever.
Yeah.
But when I went off and made him laugh, especially when I made him laugh, like one of the greatest moments, man. Make that guy
Life
laugh.
made.
Yes. So I would have Eddie on, and I would tell him that little decision he made about deciding that let's see some new faces, and what he told me, what he said to me when he first met me, it helped get me through all the moments after that movie came out and didn't perform like I thought it was, and my career didn't catapult off of it, but it didn't matter because I always had the knowledge and the belief that I could stand beside my idol. I could stand right next to the guy who'd been doing what I've loved for so long. And to know that about yourself, it's worth more than anything in this business, especially because self-doubt, that's a killer.
That'll
It's a
eat
killer.
you. Yep.
Yeah.
I don't have it. I'm like, nope, I know I can do this. So.
Wow. That is an incredible answer. It's an answer of answers.
It's a loaded answer.
No, it's great.
What I want to know is, I know you're probably a really busy guy, but have you watched any great TV shows or movies lately that you can tell us about?
Oh yeah, no, I and this is something again that kind of comes from Peter DeLuise. Peter watches everything. I mean, good or bad, everything. It's a genre he doesn't like, he watches it. And I think the kind of comedic timing and the comedian in me thinks much the same. Like I have to be up on what is out, and I need to be watching what is currently on air.
Right.
I think that's part of our jobs. I do as an actor, because there's lots of actors I talk to, and I'm like, "Yo, have you seen this movie?" No, I've never seen. What? Like, how have you not? You're an actor. How do you call yourself an actor? You haven't seen, 10 of these movies I'm talking about. It's crazy. But right now, what am I watching currently? This is kind of a guilty pleasure. Actually, I shouldn't say it's a guilty pleasure. It's a great show. My wife and I watch Law and Order, the original Law and Order, every night. We watch that show. Yeah, love that show. I'm a big Law and Order fan. Currently, I'm watching. I have. These are old shows I'm watching, and then I'll tell you what I'm watching new currently.
That's great.
I'm rewatching all the old Columbo movies from the series. Yeah, I'm a big Peter Falk fan. I'm not sure if anybody's done it better in television history. Honestly, I don't know if there's. When you watch that man, you can't tell what's scripted and what's not. It's impossible to see. It's impossible. Wow. And I'm a guy who's like comedic, and I know I can see it. I see it on any other show, but that guy, he's so immersed in that character. It's impossible to see where Peter Falk stops. and Columbo starts. You can't tell. You can't tell. You have to know the man personally, I think, to actually say, "Oh, that's not Peter." So
Yeah.
watching that again, Rockford Files, which is a James Garner show back in the day, same thing. Just love how natural these guys were. Currently, a new show or newish show is a show called City on a Hill with Kevin Bacon and Aldous Hodge. It's very gritty. I like gritty real stuff. That's kind of my
We like
That's-
that
my
too.
thing.
So
Yeah, we
we're
like
happy
Yeah.
to-
very yes.
Yeah, like which is why I've like watched tons of UK shows and stuff like. I
Best.
Yeah.
they just the cat from the casting to the script, just everybody's real. I just believe
Yeah.
everybody that I'm seeing on the
know,
screen.
It's so good. Yeah.
You
I
know,
agree.
so
Yeah.
yeah, that's I like gritty stuff.
Gritty's
But
good.
right now, yeah, it's a lot of City on a Hill and
City on a Hill. I don't think I've ever heard of
yeah.
that. I kind of have to look that up.
yeah, it's really well done. It's based in the early '90s Boston. Um, Kevin Bacon is an FBI agent who's incredibly flawed and like a horrible human being, but
Brilliant.
he's just crushing it. He's so good, and Aldous Hodge is he's a black assistant DA or assistant prosecutor, and they're just butting heads. It's so good because they're not holding back at all. There's like N bombs are being dropped. There's no holds
Whoa.
barred. They are because it's like look, it's Boston in 1991. Oh
Yeah, I
my
guess so.
God,
Okay.
yeah, it's one of the
Jeez.
yeah. Racism is rampant. So it just it's hard to watch. I gotta say, I'm watching it and I'm like, oh man, like.
Yeah, I can imagine.
But so well done. Everybody's
Yeah.
killing it. Yeah.
Gotcha.
That and what else am I watching? I mean, my kids watch Brooklyn Nine-Nine all the time. They love that show so much.
Aw.
So we watch that a lot. Yeah, there's probably I'm probably forgetting. I've watched pretty much everything. So,
It's nice to hear some new
Yeah.
stuff.
It is.
yeah. You guys check out City on the Hill. It's really
For sure
well done.
will.
Honestly,
I know.
Viv, it's been so great. I feel like
I
it's
know.
gone
Can
too
we have
fast.
you
I feel like
back?
we need more time.
Yeah.
Are we able to have you back another
Yeah.
time?
Yeah.
Like,
Oh
to,
my
like-
gosh. I wanted to stick around and talk. Oh my God.
We
I
have
could
so
talk to
many
you
more
guys forever.
questions.
I know.
Yeah.
I feel like we've only just like scratched a tiny surface.
Oh
of,
yeah.
like,
we
ah.
we just started.
Yeah, but
We'll get you back.
but honestly, thank
I will
you.
come
Yeah,
back
we'll
for
definitely
sure.
get you back.
Oh, thank you so
brilliant,
much.
awesome. Honestly, thank you. It's been divine. Actually, it's been
Such
really
a
lovely.
pleasure.
So,
Yeah, agreed.
Oh.
yeah. So, how about if we all say goodbye on 3, and then I
Alright.
guess, we'll do that.
Okay.
So, how about 1, 2, 3. Bye.
See
Bye.
y'all. Talk to you soon.
See ya.